Hi, my name is Maylani Peffer, and I am doing my health communications um, campaign presentation. My focus is on teen suicide in Utah. It's my health communication subject. I apologize, I've been sick this week, so I'm going to try and talk through this as clearly as possible. But my presentation title is called Do We Really Know Our Teens? So this is going to be a story based on my personal experience. So I wanted to give just some background information, who this story is about. It's about three boys. Their names are Ryan, Danny, and Zach. This is a true story based on my experience with teen suicide. When did this happen? It was about in the early 2000s, where this was in the neighborhood I grew up in, which was in Sandy, Utah, and why I believe that my relationship with suicide has really taught me a lot that I want to make sure and share so that I can help to guide others and hopefully be a beneficial influence on this subject. So I felt that the best way to describe my timeline, to describe my story would be with a timeline. So in February 2007, there was a boy in our neighborhood. His name was Ryan. And he was really close with my older brothers. He used to come over and hang out with them. They went to high school together. I believe he was a junior or senior in high school. He was a little bit older than my brother, but they used to spend a lot of time together. I used to see him at high school, at church. And his parents were really close with my parents, so our families were pretty close. One day we found out that Ryan passed away. I was about 8 years old at this time. I just turned 8, and this was my first experience with suicide. I found out a couple years later that Ryan had committed suicide. So that was probably my first and earliest experience. Fast forward to October of 2011. This was Danny's death. He was another kid who lived in our neighborhood. He was just a little bit older than one of my second brothers. And he had sisters as well that were really close with my family, with my siblings. And again, his parents were really, really close to our family. His dad was actually the bishop in our ward, and his mom was the young women's leader. So she was teaching me young women's. So, and we were really close with that family. So I was about 12 at this time, and this one really was a lot older, and so it was a really big experience for me. And I remember this one really kind of shocked me. So November of 2011, which if you see is just a month later, this was when Zach passed away. So Zach was my older brother. He was a senior in high school, and he committed suicide in 2011 when he was just 17 years old. So this was one of the biggest, obviously, experiences that I went through regarding teen suicide. I was just a 12-year-old little girl who didn't really understand a whole lot, but it has truly affected me over the past 10 years. And it is a really big part of my story today. And so I think that is why I'm so passionate about this subject and why I continually want to share and hopefully inspire others to learn more about it. So that's the story. So this is just some statistics to help show and support the cause. So these are just, if you see, the blue line is Utah and the green was the United States, comparing teen suicide in Utah and the United States. These are rate of youth suicides aged 10 to 17 per 100,000 population. So as you can see, Utah is well above the average. And a statistic that I did not include in this was one that I was researching from the year 2020. And in the year 2020, suicide was the leading cause of death in Utah between the teenage age of 10 through 17 and 18 to 25. So the leading cause of death between these between teen deaths. So just an interesting statistic to keep in mind. So what can be done about this? These are 5 bullet points that I put together that I really think anybody can do. Doesn't matter your age, gender, opinion on it. Anybody can do these. So the first one is create a protective environment. This is something that I think parents have a really big influence on, creating protective homes and protective relationships with their kids, and making sure that we give the example of, protection and taking care of ourselves and things like that, creating that supportive environment for our kids. Improving access and delivery to suicide care. This one I found quite interesting because I believe Utah has a really, really good suicide program, especially with the church. They offer free counseling services to those who need it, and you can obviously get instruction from your bishop, and they can provide you with services at no cost. So I think that's something that Utah does really well, but I feel that other states may not do as well, where therapy can cost a lot of money, and for those who don't have that, they may not be able to receive the care that they need. Promoting healthy connections, that's a big one for teens. I know finding friends and finding where you fit in can be really hard, so making sure that we promote that and helping them with that. Identifying and supporting individuals at risk. I think this one is a big one for really anyone. Just understanding and being kind to those that we encounter, and being able to identify, somebody that's at risk, and just finding ways to help support them. And then teach coping and problem solving skills. These can, again, just be applied to anybody. I think coping mechanisms are a huge thing for anyone, and they can really help our teenagers, especially at that age. Learning how to cope and in a healthy way is going to be a really big one. I wanted to end just with a quote. This is by Glenn Close. It is, what mental health needs is more sunlight, more candor, and more unshamed conversation. And I think that's so true, that mental health really is something that can be cured with just spending some time outside and having a good conversation, where no judgment is involved, and just being able to speak your mind and maybe not necessarily be, understood at that time, but just being able to speak your mind in a truthful and in a safe environment. So that is everything for my presentation. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed.